Welcome to our new episode of The Wisdom Lovers with Aurora and Kadesh. And this week I've really been sitting with the topic of relationships and intimate relating. And the inspiration for that is our relationship, our dynamic, our deepening of intimacy. Just from my previous experiences with relating, it's different. And I don't know if I just have had specific ideas about what relationships are, or if it's more of a collective belief what it is to be in a relationship, how they should look like, what it actually is. And coming from the experience of being a serial monogamist, it's just like kind of always being in a monogamous relationship. Then if I was single, that period was very short, and then again going into a relationship. And I think in a way not maybe being so good at it. Not really knowing how to support a fruitful relationship to happen where both individuals are really flourishing. So yeah, what do you think? What do you have to bring around the topic of relating?
Relationship. Well, I have tried monogamy relating for a couple of months. It didn't work so well for me, so I'm actually not so experienced in that side. And in a way, as I know monogamy, like the idea is that it's just one partner for life. So a serial monogamous is in a way also not really monogamous. Because originally, if you're truly monogamous, when you separate or one dies, so you just stay alone until you die, kind of like. And my understanding about the relating as an expression of love, it's like the heart want to grow and connect more. Like it's a natural tendency, and it have a certain capacity, a limited capacity.
The heart, you mean?
Yeah, to meet intimately certain amount of people. So it will be very difficult to be in a deep intimacy with 20 people.
But is it the heart that is limited? Isn't it more just the time and energy to sustain the intimacy and the closeness with so many people?
It's not unrelated. Time and energy can be invested through any part as well, through the heart. And it is the heart ability to stay open, to stay devoted to that love. And when there is a certain wisdom or ability to keep the love open, so there is less energy that is needed to be invested, energy and time, in order to keep that connection alive and flourishing. When there is a challenge, so it takes more time and energy, a challenge of being able to handle it. And for some people, one person is enough. It's already a big challenge. So 2 people, it's too complicated. 3, 4, like that's overwhelming. And in a way also for many people it is challenge to be intimate with themselves. So to connect with one is a big stretch already.
But it seems still in our society that the default is more towards partnering up than being alone.
Yeah, in a very
I know
specific
I've
way.
heard that like in Japan, people are more and more just choosing to be alone, and people are not partnering up and not having children. So like in some cultures, it's maybe more towards, the default is maybe moving more towards just being alone. But at least what I am used to in Europe and in particular Iceland is like there's a strong pull towards being in a relationship.
Yeah, it's more the traditional approach. I think in the modern time, like many like to be more single for a longer time, not rush into relationship. So they can invest more time in the career, in themselves, self-development, in connecting with whoever, exploring sexuality. Doesn't have to be in that traditional form.
But that's maybe more the path, developing the intimacy with oneself before
Right.
relating to another.
Right.
Because I, like, at least from my experience, I had very limited understanding of myself in every aspect, mind, body, emotions, before I started relating to another. So yeah, there's like no encouragement from the environment to actually get to know myself. There was encouragement to like wait with like being too occupied with boys so I could focus on my studies, but no encouragement to actually like know who I was and what I wanted and what worked for me and what not in different aspects.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. I mean, same like individual evolves, also culture evolves, and it's more the traditional approach is going straight into fitting to social conditioned agreements of like unspoken agreements in a way that are supposed to be taken as granted, that it should be like that. You should, to a certain age, like when you feel the desire to connect sexually, so you should be monogamous, which means staying with that one all your life and make a family and marry, of course, first and all that. And this is a very specific form, very traditional, and it keeps a certain social order. Yeah, but then from that evolves more modern approach of, as you said, like first investing in myself, connecting with myself, in a way my inner
relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, to have like a clear communication within myself. Like, how do I treat myself? How
Yeah.
do I respect myself? What are my needs? What are my desires?
And once I or anyone connect to oneself more, so it can be to some degree that feels sufficient. Okay, I've done my journey to. It can be either by really going more of a spiritual path, kind of like connect my inner feminine and masculine, or something, or it can be more kind of a common approach or modern approach that I think it's just common because this is where most humanity is now, which is like I'll connect to me being a successor, like that I have a positive impact, feedback from life, that I am successful in career, I can be independent, I feel empowered, I feel I am what I want to be in society, and then I will be available to have a family, so I will not need to worry about also resources and so on. But yeah, this journey can take other forms as well, if the journey really focus more on connecting to oneself and not just to what oneself want to be in society.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in a way beyond the modern approach where many people are going to, but it's less the mainstream. So it's doubting the ways that it kind of so-called supposed to be. So it's even way further than the traditional. But the thing is that there is not so much an offered alternative. I mean, there are ancient traditions that do inspire some very known ones are so to go into sacred marriage, which is actually two souls looking for the completing half, the twin souls. Like, for example, this idea, a very romantic idea, that is a story that can be lived and bring much depth into the relationship, or it can be also the more traditional tantric path, like it's kind of like it can integrate the sexual practices, but it is practicing also non-attachment as the ultimate observer. So there is not exactly place for a coupleship of such type. I mean, there is no attachment also for not having it, so it can be some, like, you can turn it any way you want in a way. But if someone take it into its intimate aspect, so like intimate relation with itself, so it needs to let go of it all the time also. And it's kind of two extremes. Of course, to be a monk is a possibility, like that is not connecting sexually at all. Like in Buddhism, for example, there are many who take that vow. And of course, I mean, it's kind of like archetypal extremes, these three. One is the two polarities that become one. One is like, I am one and not relating sexually, just keeping a very high frequency of inner connection. And one is also being an individual but connect with many.
Like a free radical in a way.
Radically free. Although, yeah, in that sense of connection with others, like sexual connections or intimate, romantic. But of course, any version of a mixture of those archetypes can happen. And as I see it, the ultimate would be to find the middle point of this triangle that allows all the three extremes to happen.
So it's kind of like a pyramid.
Which one is on the top? It can be anyone. It's not about...
No, I mean like the middle point is the top. The other are the foundation and the...
Oh, like...
creating the foundation.
like a tetrahedric
Sure.
pyramid with a triangular base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can look at it like that, or just two-dimensional triangle, because yeah, but
Okay, I
it's
invited
not about
you.
the shape, yeah.
No, I took you on a track around sacred geometry. I get that. Okay, just from your share now, I've like every minute, like, oh, that I want to take that on a loop and explore that, and
Okay.
so many points. So what to pick? Well, you mentioned in a way cultivating one's inner relationship, and that on a more of a like maybe a spiritual approach is to look at the masculine and feminine, like inner masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
That was really profound, like a pivoting point for me to understand my previous relationships better, to really drop into more like, okay, I am in a female body. I am in a way representing the feminine, meeting the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And my inner relationship to masculine and feminine, how I projected it out and how I was meeting the masculine from that viewpoint or from that worldview. And I realized how much fear I had and judgment of the masculine. There was some deep, like subconscious belief that the masculine did not respect me, did not respect the goddess in me. Realizing how that had influenced my previous relationships and just my connection to every man. And of course, how I treated myself. Like, that's where it starts. So since then, it's been a very interesting journey to unfold these ideas. And also, another thing that plays into it is, in a way, at least in the culture that I'm surrounded by, it's been so much emphasis on like, woman, be strong, be independent, like the women are equal to men, and then we have certain measures like in career or salary or caretaking for your children. Like there are these measures, and if you're not standing up for your rights in a certain way, then you're in a way not supporting the rights and the equality of your sisters. So in a way, evoking shame in women to actually embracing their femininity fully. And to be soft and be gentle. And it's like, it has become so, what to say, like wrinkled or tangled or something. All these ideas about gender and equality and masculine and feminine and patriarchy, and like that has really played out in my relationships. Like as you have reflected to me, like you meet in me a power play instead of meeting you in love and wanting the highest good for both of us, our relationship, and us as individuals.
In some occasions.
In some occasions, suddenly there's more like a competition or survival game going on. Like, who's gonna be the alpha? who is the lead? Or a much fear of surrendering that and actually dropping into more togetherness.
Well, okay. So you take it to power play, which is a very common something very common in relationships is that there is an underlying power game. Who is in power? And it can come in many ways. Like there are some classical ways, and either by putting down the other, or if one have a power in the sense like ability to provide for the other, and the other is dependent on the one for having a higher quality of whatever. So it can be then used in a way to condition the other. So this is and
also social power, right? It's easier like for an extrovert or
any type, any like, yeah, if someone is challenged to communicate with other people, and for one is for the other one is very easy, and so yeah, of course it can be economic resource, which is in a way as a contrast for that, like there is the feminine, so you be economically independent, so you will not have to take shit of any man, and so he cannot do this power play on you. But then you can do it on a man that also you have more income than him. I mean, it's a possibility as well. So it's not about the gender aspect, it's more about just power play. It's going deeper to a more primal aspect in us than our sexual. So it's like directly survival. And
it's just like animal instinct in a way.
Yeah, also the sexual is animal instinct, but it is a mode that sexuality cannot be activated, or it's just used in a way.
What do you mean that where the sexuality cannot be activated? You mean if we're in a relationship, there's power play going on?
Yeah, in survival mode. Well, you can use your sexuality in survival mode, but you cannot orgasm. Like when you in stress, because survival mode is like stress. It's like now you fight for your life, or run for your life, or like it's danger mode.
But that's interesting, because I've heard many share that, like, in a way, orgasm, like self-pleasure or sex, is a way to release stress.
Yeah,
in a way, like a stress relief or tension relief, or if you feel frustrated, like you can just...
Yeah, because if there is no real danger, you can use it to signal the body that it can relax into it, and then it's like an explosion of tension that was held as stress, and that's great pleasure.
So it's not really true that you cannot orgasm if there is stress.
While you generating stress, you will not.
Right, in the same moment, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
get it.
When you relax, you can, but when you relax, you go out of the survival mode. So you are not playing the power play anymore for that moment that you orgasm. And yeah, also a classic is like using power play with sexuality. Like one does not provide in a way to the other sexuality. Like it's very common to partners who are obligated with each other and they stuck in that jail because they are in monogamy. So it's kind of like another classic thing.
Yeah, and that's something that I've realized in our relation, because we are not in a closed relation, we are open, we are allowed, or we have the agreement that we can connect with others sexually. I feel the difference from my previous relationships. It's like I didn't know how much I was actually suppressing my own sexual energy as a manipulation, as a power tool, because I didn't know how to express my needs, didn't know how to express something that I didn't like. So it was, in a way, just a desperate move to find a way to control. And at the same time feeling so much pain and sadness of not being sexual, or having, like, feeling juicy and wanting to engage with my partner, feeling like I was failing, and not realizing that it was actually coming from a much deeper root of just not understanding my own needs and not knowing how to meet them.
Yeah, it's like conditioned love. I love you only if you behave in a way I like. In that sense, I mean, if I take it to how a child play this, because this is a partner you want to be sexual with, but you kind of suppress your sexuality, and it keeps you in power position in a way. So he need to do more effort, and then you can talk him down, like show him he's not successful in a way. So it's not supporting his self-esteem. And you can keep on criticizing him, or in whatever way it is. But then how a child would, it's like, I don't want to hug you because you didn't give me the cookie. Like, I don't like you now. I don't know. It's like, it's kind of similar to that. And then the child feels not happy also. So it's like
it's a
loop.
trap.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, like, I just knowing that you, of course, anyone can be with anyone. Like, even though you are in a monogamous relationship, people cheat. Like, people do engage with others, even though it's not necessarily a part of the contract. But just knowing that this is a part of our relationship agreement, like, we are just free. It encourages me to, like, I feel more juicy. I want to be more juicy. I want you to want me. You know, I want you to be nourished sexually with me. And if I'm, like, it's like I just take out the possibility, like, this subconscious manipulation game that I played before with my sexuality. The foundation has been taken away. So it just doesn't work. So it doesn't activate that part in a way.
Yeah.
Which is very relieving for me. And the result of it is that I embrace my femininity more, I embrace my sensuality more, my sexuality, and I'm much more active and nourished in that way. And it keeps our connection in a way just deeper and more intimate.
Yeah. But it's not only about the openness of the relating, because I know many couples who have decided to be in open relating, but they're actually only with each other because it's very scary in a way. Oh, what if you would like the other one more and then you would leave me? Like, everyone have that fear. And that's why, in a way, monogamy is so safe. It's protecting from that fear that can be stressful for someone if they don't know how to meet that, if they are not willing to go into that and, like, to let go in a way, like this archetype of the celibate. The advantage of that archetype of the celibate, so there is a union of the masculine and feminine within that archetype, but the identity transcends that and just become kind of like a ultimate observer, in a way, the most objective possible perception. And it can support the couple archetype to not be too much holding for that corner of that triangle. It's like as if I'm not succeeding in that, then I'm a failure, then then it's a disaster.
Succeeding in what?
In staying to play that corner of the triangle, the corner of coupleship. It's like two halves becoming one.
Mm-hmm.
And to expand it, to more be not the one who wants it or the one who don't want it, but just to be the observer who observes what's happening, and then it's possible to let go every moment.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing with love, in a way. Love that is not conditioned, more to say. That it's in a way like a love, it's commonly where a mother loves a child, even though the child behave in a way she really don't like, she still loves him, and she will always, like, she knows she will always be for him. And so in a way, this love is not conditioned by what the other do. And same in a coupleship, it's like knowing that I will love you no matter, in a way, what. And some things might influence the dynamic, some things, I mean, for good or for...
Mm-hmm.
For good, I mean, for deepening the intimacy, for...
deeper trust.
Yeah, more harmony of union.
Mm.
And some will bring more separation in the actuality. But my inner connection is established, and this is kind of the primal focus. So I am, in a way, making love within me. So I'm generating love. There is a love generator within that is always making love, in a way. And then it's adding another person into that to make a little threesome or like orgy. And it also can very much support this archetype of the celibate. It can very much support the other corner of the triangle, of the one who want to be with many. It's kind of like, I can imagine it as an emperor that can be like, I remember I've studied the Yellow Emperor practices on sexuality. So he, for a long period, was with 11 virgins every night for a while. So this is...
So who's the Yellow Emperor?
It's an ancient emperor of China from a few thousands of years ago.
Mm.
It's ancient texts about researching like sexuality and so on. So this is kind of classic, someone who is with many, and the more meditator archetype, or the one who is the celibate that transcends the sexuality, very much can support the one who goes with many, to support that the connections will be with deeper intimacy. And not necessarily trust, not necessarily deepening the connection more and more, but that in the meeting there will be it's not just two pieces of meat making friction.
It's not coming from greed, but coming from love or connection, or
more. It's more saturated with love, with the less conditioned love, in a way, maybe to say.
But it's so interesting to say this is the approach of the Tantra, like the non-attachment, and to be open and explore the sexuality. It's like in my upbringing, it's like just to be a slut, or it's so interesting to just to change the viewpoint of it might actually be a spiritual practice of exploring oneself and life force and human dynamics, or is there actually value to it?
It's not exactly what I said, that this is the way of the Tantra. The Tantra, the traditional Tantra, is focused on the celibate. And in a very advanced stage, there are practices of sexuality to challenge the celibate, and through the challenge to even strengthen that person's ability to stay in the meditation and not be moved by
temptation.
Yeah, and to the subtleties of being on the peak of orgasm or ejaculation. Originally it started as a practice only for men, and also the sexual practice is not the main thing there. But when it came to the West, it became maybe what can be called the Neo-Tantra.
Yeah.
So then it was very much focused on sexuality as a counterbalance to where Western society is. With much impact of Christianity, which shames sexuality immensely.
And just when I just think of it now, reflect on our conversation in the last minutes, whoa, so much what we're saying is something that would have really challenged me not so long ago. I've been journeying with my own sexuality and remembering, reclaiming my sovereignty and my freedom in that realm, but just knowing that it's so far away, so far off. At least it used to be. I think in general, at least here in Iceland, the conversation is opening up about sexuality and to speak openly about these things. I don't know how. I think the idea of openly relating is still quite new, or not new, but maybe not so common.
It's not commonly accepted, but it was always.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in more traditional mindset of people, it's rare over there. In these societies that are more religious. It's it's more an approach that wants to hold on to the familiar and safe rather than go and explore adventures of ecstasy state. But then there are those who want to actually rebel and go and explore new ways, or even without rebel, just explore more ways. So
and from my experience, it's in a way, one way to look at it, I have failed in my attempts in relationships, they have come to an end. even though, especially in my last relationship, the feeling when it came to an end was more like a celebration of in a way finishing a chapter together. But then it's like, okay, is it maybe not me who is failing? It's more just I'm choosing a way of relating that doesn't really suit me. So if I'm trying to create something that is not really fitting, of course it will fail, because it's not the natural way for me in particular.
It's a possibility. It's not necessarily like that, but
it's just opens up like another way to look at it. But for sure, feeling also in our relation, like when we started connecting, I knew how you've more lived more free, engaging just where you feel called. So starting to relating to you, I didn't even have the expectation of it becoming monogamous, which in a way gave me much freedom from my own patterns and my own suffering, the suffering that I create when I became intimate with someone. Because so many like attachment and ideas, and I just like started caging myself so much. But becoming more intimate with you, it was like, oh, it's coming from such a different direction that it didn't really trigger these things until much later in our dynamic. When we moved in together, that was the the moment where these patterns activated. And still moving through a lot of like ideas and fears around this, like not wanting to lose what we have, or being afraid that you will want to be with someone else, and even just that, I remember when you were like, yeah, like if you're jealous, like it's okay to be jealous. I was judging jealousy so much. Like the idea was that, okay, if I'm choosing to be openly relating, then I should just be fine with it all and not afraid at all. Or now it's actually meeting the challenges, and I've learned much through you, how you communicate, how open you are and honest. It's for me it's like, whoa, is it okay to speak about these things? Like honesty, and doing it slowly and in an honoring way for each other.
When you say these things, it's not clear what you mean.
When I say what things in particular?
These things, like, is it okay to speak about these things?
Right, about these things, yeah. So for example, if you feel attracted to someone, like we are somewhere, like maybe we're together or not, but you then share with me, oh, I feel attraction there. And you just speak of it so openly. And for me, it's like a relief. I feel more trust when you actually speak of these things, instead of us pretending that neither of us is attracted to anyone else than just each other.
Yeah.
And still finding myself, if I feel attraction to someone, like shame comes up. And I'm like, how do I handle it? What to do with it? Do I act on it, or do I suppress it, or do I hide it, or do I share it? Am I hurting you? It's like, whoa, it's such a new realm to navigate. Really feeling like sometimes just like a 6-year-old in communication or something.
Maybe to take it then again to that triangle. Because for me it's very useful tool to observe relating that are around sexuality. So that corner of the monogamy of the two halves together, what's exactly in the opposite side of it is the middle point between the celibate and between the zorba, kind of like the one who is with many. And it means, in a way, it's like the celibate, the quality that this one brings is intimacy, because this one knows itself. So this one can be open to let you know itself deeper, because it knows itself, and it will want also to know you deeper, because it know if there is such a direction for the will, because it knows itself to that depth. And the quality of the one who is sexually with many, it's more the sexual attraction. It keeps life with a lot of eros around sexuality, a lot of attraction. It's very arousing to be with every night with the new 11 virgins. It's very arousing.
It sounds exhausting for me.
Well, you can just be passive and let them do the work. For a limited amount of time. I mean, it doesn't have to be every night, but it's like that availability whenever.
It's like being alive.
Yeah, there is something alive in it, and it's like this eros, this like erotic life.
And it's like I really feel the polarity between the celibate, which is more spirit, more consciousness, and then the other one more like when you go to the one who is exploring and with the 11 virgins every night.
Yeah.
More like animal instinct, or more earth and more juiciness in a way.
More
Shiva
sensuality,
Shakti,
life force. Yeah, it's kind of more, in a way, the other polarity. And the couple corner is where the trust is. It's like deepening, like I trust in our togetherness. I trust that you stay with me for all my life, for all our life, and maybe beyond this life. Like, depends how we perceive it, but it's like these three elements: trust, intimacy, and sexual attraction. All of them are important, but when there is the holding on to the idea of relationship, that it should be in that monogamic way, what often happens, it reduces the sexual attraction with time, and it reduces also the deepening of the intimacy, and it settles only in trust. And this is like buddies, it's like nice partners. It's good for partnership, but it's not so alive, and it's not so deep. And the opposite of that, in a way, is something that have no trust so much, but it is very deep and very alive, like very arousing.
Yeah, the word that comes to me is stability. It's like the trust. It's like it's very stable, but it's not so creative. It's not maybe generating anything new, or maybe doesn't handle changes. Like, lack of creativity.
Yeah, it's holding on to the familiar. It is non-creative thinking. Like, in a way, almost by definition. And yeah, so it's in a way a counterbalance to shake off from the inertia of going into that corner of the triangle. It's to go to exactly the opposite, at least towards that direction.
You mean where you focus more on deepening intimacy and the sexual attraction?
Yeah. So it is now more freedom than security. And freedom both to explore, like in one side, to explore sexuality and the orgasmic, ecstatic aspect of it, but also the freedom to explore myself more. Who am I? Like what is me in a way? Like,
outside of the relationship.
Yeah, as an individual. So it's both. Like these are both corners in a way that are influencing that of the celibate and the hedonic one, maybe, if to put it in one word. Hedonistic.
You keep bringing new names for
Yeah,
one.
maybe we can call
it's
it...
a bit confusing.
So to organize it, so one corner is the coupleship corner, one corner is the celibate corner, and one corner would be maybe the hedonistic corner.
So hedonistic means what?
Just going into the sensual pleasure without any necessarily any morality or values that are trustworthy, and without interest in deepening intimacy or wanting to know itself better or something like that. Just the pleasure in its rawness.
I guess that has been one of the biggest surprises of meeting you more and more intimately. Like, from my point of view, with my worldview, first when I was getting to know you, I thought you were just hedonist, like in the hedonistic point of view. But then, like, being really surprised to actually then start meeting more the intimacy, which reflected to me like how little I know myself, and how more intimacy within myself was in a way needed for, and is needed for me to keep meeting you. And then when, like, even dropping into the coupleship, that was like when you, in a way, expanded my view of you into these three corners. Well, my idea of myself was more coming from only the coupleship. Yeah, also been on a spiritual path, like more celibate, and I was in a relationship for a while, but we were more just in the celibate corner there, really focusing on the inner knowing and the consciousness, really neglecting the body, the hedonistic aspect.
Yeah.
And that's in a way the invitation, like that was why I was drawn to connect with you, because I felt something was missing. The hedonistic, the sensuality, the sexuality was like a part of me totally missing and had been lost since childhood. So it's been a very interesting journey. I kind of see like a spiral now, like where, like, coming from the partnership identity, meeting you more in the hedonistic, and then being like pulled into the intimacy, and then suddenly like, what, are we going into partnership? And it's like it's been a beautiful journey, surprising. So if I wouldn't have dared to challenge my own stability and security with staying in the unknown, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to experience, explore, and in a way create new way of relating for myself.
Yeah, in a way, I would say it started when you started to connect more to the intimacy. You were seeking for more intimacy, and that opened you to feel, okay, something more is missing. It's the hedonistic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's often like that. This is like the safer way to open, because the hedonistic part is quite demonized. And so it's kind of preferably to be pushed into the shadows part, into the unconscious, not owning it, to judge it, to be afraid of it.
Yeah, it's like shamed and it's a taboo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in maybe the Freudian model, which is quite simple to describe the Western mentality. So it's kind of like more the id part, like the objectified part. And the intimacy, the celibate, the transsexual, like transcended above sexuality, and not transformed sexuality. It's sexual, but yeah, like the celibate part, the one who deepens the intimacy with itself. This is more would be kind of equivalent to the superego, to an ideal good that is never achievable in a way. And it's safer to go there because there is social confirmation of it to a certain degree, and people are not as aggressively pushing it off from them.
And some even glorifying it.
Yes.
Like a guru.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like a noble path.
Yeah. Yeah, but also many criticize it as to be like a modern approach can very much criticize it as just imaginary and not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, the hedonistic part is often acted in hiding, in cheating, in those ways that are kept in secret.
Mm-hmm.
So there is limitation of how much intimacy can connect with that. But this is there are many ways to. I think eventually everyone wants to integrate all the three parts of the triangle to come to the center, whether they know it or not. I think this is in a way the ultimate form to evolve, and it's a journey. We never fully in the center in a way. We're always towards the center, spiraling around it.
Right. And you're surely on the hedonistic, like to meet that again within myself, because I remember myself as a sexual being when I was a child, like very curious about sexuality, starting self-pleasuring very young, curious about like finding out like a neo-tantra book in my parents' closet. So fascinated by the pictures, but then really like growing up, buying into the shame around it, like, oh, it's something not so good. And then reclaiming that and remembering that and having the opportunity to mature that aspect of my being. It's like, it's so innocent. It's so pure. It's
natural.
It's natural.
Yeah.
It's totally natural, and it's
not necessarily domesticated.
Right.
It's natural.
So natural, and it's like just feeling more wholeness brought to my being. And what comes up now, like one of the big gifts of it, it's like it's a big challenge in receiving. And spiraling back to my previous year about my relationship experiences, and acknowledging the disharmonious relationship within me of masculine and feminine, like really not daring to receive. I didn't know how to receive. Always giving, providing, needing to be independent and be on my own and make things happen, like very more in like holding on to stubbornly on masculine energy. But opening into the hedonistic it's such a beautiful way to practice receiving and giving and the flow of these.
It can be destructive as well when it is
course.
hedonistic, that is not integrated with the other parts.
Mm-hmm.
Every corner in itself is maybe to say that the celibate corner is the safest for one evolution as a consciousness, and the hedonistic is the least safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like if to go into that corner focused without the other elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you take it to the extreme.
Yeah, because it's not anymore like naturally innocent, like connecting to your wild nature and integrate, but it can become obsessive, compulsive, addicted, and like that cannot contain itself. Its
and
own
like you
desire.
said, the emperor, it's like you mentioned that.
Well, the emperor actually he was containing its own desire. It was a practice. He just have the abundance.
Oh, I thought you meant like just archetypally, like that was more like a conqueror or something.
Well, it's more one that have integrated other aspects, but very representing also that corner. But if to say only that corner that is stuck there, like in the corner of relationship, of coupleship, so holding on to monogamy and leaving empty relationship for all life. So in that corner, like the stuckness there would be someone who is addict, who is addict to sex or cannot control itself to the level that it destroys its life. Is not so much functional. It's the most destructive one. And the corner of the celibate would be, like going away from humanity and just be alone all life.
So it's very isolated.
Yeah.
The hedonistic is more destructive.
Yeah.
And then with the coupleship, it's more like empty or hollow.
Yeah, they all miss something. Yeah, but maybe we can present it like that. Maybe we can refine the definition.
And it's so interesting. Like I so relate to all of these aspects. Like I know them within me.
Yeah, they are.
I know the ones that are imbalanced and like in extreme, and I also know them in more of a harmony.
Yeah, it's archetypes.
Yeah,
they exist in us. Yeah, so the general idea is to come to integration of them. That's how I perceive the relationship, like the topic you want to open with.
Yeah.
And this is where I strive in, for example, meeting with you. How can we live all three of them in their fullness? And the only one that is dependent, the only one of the three corners that is dependent on someone else is the one of the coupleship, is to find someone to do it with. The other two I can do alone. Especially the celibate one. I don't need anyone there. But so there is something interesting in doing it together, because it can nourish the other aspects as well.
I just realizing, like I've learned so. This conversation is bringing me to a deeper understanding of what you've kept like sharing with me, what you want and where you're coming from in our connection. And now I'm like, I get it. At least to the next level. Yeah. Very helpful, the triangle, like this map of the triangle. And also, It's like it's not about coming to a still point, but just allowing the spiral to move me, and like where I feel that if I need to visit one of these parts more, like to allow life to spiral me and trust that the spiraling between the archetypes is bringing me closer to the center.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting stuck in like one aspect.
Yeah.
Moving from there.
Every round of the spiral is feeling more integrated in that aspect of including all the... And sometimes it might mean a period of time of isolation, like going to retreat somewhere. And sometimes it means becoming wildly sexual with big number of people, and sometimes it means that it's just two of us for like with feeling that this is for life and just being in that, but it is transforming because we are always changing. And what I have noticed, it is always going around these three polarities. It's like a tripole kind of map.
And in that order, you mean? Coming from the coupleship?
Oh, not necessarily.
Can go the other round.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So interesting.
It can also start not in the coupleship. It can start in any... Yeah. For me, it started in the celibate, for example.
And then more into the hedonistic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have defined myself as asexual, like when I was a teenager. But then I opened into the tantric practices and it was time to go into that. So I opened to sexuality as a spiritual practice. So yeah, I went into the hedonistic. And the last one for me was the coupleship. Yeah, it's a different order. It can be any order. 6 possibilities.
So I think we are reaching a perfect time for closure.
Yeah.
For this topic of the day. I mean, this is a big interest of mine. So maybe you will bring in some topics about it.
In another talk.
Yeah, there was part of your sharing where I was like, oh, I want to take this and I want to explore that further, and yeah. Exciting. So exciting. So again, like if you are listening and you are curious about something, or I'd love us to share something or explore some topics, please let us know. Love to hear from you.
Yeah. Any topic that comes up. Yeah. Will support us knowing what to talk about more. What is in interest of people more. And if you listen, thank you for listening.